Chopper! Enemy chopper! I got eyes on an enemy helicopter. An enemy tank has been identified north.
Hello and thanks for clicking on the video. My name is Hunter and today we're going to talk about tanks in Battlefield 4. To start off, there are three different primary weapons for the tank. The AP shell, the HE shell, and the Sabot shell. Personally, I prefer the Sabot shell, and we'll get into that later. But we'll keep going on, and for the secondary weapons, we have the coaxial LMG, guided shell, coaxial HMG, canister shell, and the staff shell. Of all of these, I prefer the LMG, and we'll talk about that later also. For countermeasures, you have your IR smoke, the smoke screen, which are actually different, the fire extinguisher, and the active protection. Of all of these, it's definitely going to be the active protection. We'll talk about how to use that better later. Of the optics, it's going to have to be the zoom optics. You'll also have the infrared and the thermal, but the zoom is the best. Now for the upgrades, there's maintenance, thermal camo, autoloader, and reactive armor. Of all of these, the only one of these that is actually useful is reactive armor. You can go with whatever paint you want. I like quick response. As far as gunners go, we're not going to talk about that in this video, but one thing I can say is, if you're going to be a gunner for a tank, don't shoot at nothing, because all you're doing is giving his position away. Okay, let's try the Sabot shell first. Let's watch that in slow motion. As you can see, all you have to do is place your target between the bottom of the reticle and the small spot just below the crosshair. Now next, let's look at the AP shell. Aiming the exact same way, this is what happens. As you can see, the AP shell just falls slightly lower than the Sabot shell, so you must aim up slightly. Next is the HE shell. Let's go ahead and aim the same way as the Sabot, and it does not work very well. You have to aim up massively using the very bottom of the crosshair for this distance, and it finally gets a hit. Let's compare and contrast the three different primary weapons you have available to you during the tank. First, you see that you have the AP shell. Now, the AP shell is a good middle ground compared to the other two. It doesn't do as much damage as the HE, but it definitely doesn't have the drop of the HE. The HE shell has the most damage of the three, clocking in at an average of 33 damage per critical hit. It also has gross drop. The Sabot shell averages about 23 damage per normal hit, and if you get a critical hit, you can get around a 27 or a 29 depending on where you hit. It also has the least amount of drop, so it's really reliable when taking out helicopters. Personally, I go with the Sabot shell, but I see a bunch of other people like the AP shell. Not many people like the HE shell just because the drop makes it extremely unreliable. The second attachment that you should use is the machine gun. Heavy or light, it doesn't matter. Right here you can see I get a hit marker with my tank shell, but I can't finish them off for some reason. So I go ahead and I switch to my machine gun and take them out. Those jokers were going to kill me if I hadn't have had that. Let's talk about critical hits. Now you bet your britches whenever you see the back of a tank you ought to be shooting at it. You're going to do critical damage, you're going to have a much better chance of getting a mobility hit. And those mobility hits are going to be fundamental towards taking out the tank. Now here they didn't see me coming, I guess that's their fault. So what other types of critical hits are there? Hitting your enemy in the treads is one of the best ways to get mobility hits. Mobility hits slow down your enemy, making it almost impossible for them to get out of your reign of terror. Whenever you find yourself brawling with another tank, it's always important to use your environment to your advantage. As you can see here, I'm actually over a hill, and this tank comes after me. And I'm thinking to myself, well, actually, if I use this hill, I'll be just fine. So he decides to crest the hill, so I hit him in the belly. He goes back around, and I stop at the end of the hill, take the shot, and retreat back behind the hill. He misses, because I guess, I don't know, I can't speak for him. So I hit him again, and I chase him back into this hole. He's already taken a substantial amount of damage from me, and he finds himself disabled at this point. I finished him off there with the machine gun, and I was able to avoid at least 50 damage because I was using that Doom to my advantage. Okay, now it's time to get to the bread and butter of this guy. As you can see, it's always important to look to the sky because there's always going to be a helicopter or a jet that wants to take you out as a tank because you're an easy target. So whenever you're lining up a shot, you want to try your best to hit either the cockpit or the very tip of the tail. Doing that will ensure that you either get A, a one-hit kill, or B, you cause them to spiral uncontrollably, launching them to the... Okay, let's watch that again in super slow motion. Now I see this helicopter come in front of me, and I acknowledge that he's really close, and I'm using the Sabot shell so I can shoot directly at the cockpit. Now I do, and he actually turns around quickly, allowing me to hit him in the tail, which is actually a little bit better. He falls to his death. Now sometimes helicopters make it a little bit easier for you, just going right in front of you. So I look on the minimap here and I see the helicopter is actually really close, see him straight in front of me, and I take the shot at the cockpit, annihilating him instantly. His gunner comes out, so I take out my machine gun and finish him off. Let's talk about when you want to pop active protection. Here I see there's a helicopter engaging me far in the distance. I decide it's not a good time to pop active protection because I won't be able to get the most use out of it. Whenever you pop active protection, you want to make sure that that's whenever they're doing their biggest assault on you. I see that the chopper gunner is actually taking me down 31 health, and I've noticed that there's a jet in the air that actually delayed his attack on me. So I decide not to pop active protection because he's not going to be able to pull his full onslaught. Okay, here's another instance of when you don't want to pop active protection too early. This tank's crested the hill here, and he's taken a shot, hit me, but then missed the second one, so he's going to retreat. There was no reason for me to pop active protection at that time. So here in this situation is a more interesting time of when not to use active protection. I see this LAV coming over the hill to attack me, and I notice one thing's wrong. He's not using any tow missiles. Now, without tow missiles, LAVs are pretty useless and they do not do very much damage. So I decide, you know what, I actually don't need the pop active protection here because he's not going to be able to kill me with just his main gun. Let's take one more look at this though. You notice he engages me and I turn around so he can't see my butt. So he's not going to be able to do critical damage to me. Whenever I'm engaging him, I decide, you know what, I need to go ahead and attack him from behind and always shoot at his treads, and that's what I do. For the last one, I decide not to go for the enemy kill right here, but to go for the treads. I hit the treads, and the splash damage also kills the enemy. Let's see how I fare in a high-stakes situation. Here on Giants of Corellia, I'm with my tank and I'm actually in smack dab in the middle of the map. Not the best place to be, but I'm here. I come forward towards the base and try to cap. I notice that there is an empty AA there, so I cripple it just in case someone wants to jump in and use Zuni rockets on it. I notice rounds from the LAV are coming at me from the river and I decide to use those boxes in front of me as cover. So I roll behind the boxes and I see that there's also some infantry on the hill. Tried to take them out, but I was unsuccessful. Getting lock-ons from all around, I decide to hit the active protection because I don't know what's actually shooting at me. After a while, I find that there's rocket people on the mountain, so I decide to take them out with a machine gun. Looking around, I know I'm actually being completely surrounded. and there's a lot more people around than what you can actually see. In just a second, LAV is going to end up behind me and start pressuring me. There goes the tow missile, and I see, wow, he's sitting there shooting at my rear, and I'm just letting him do it. So I decide to flip around and come across the river and use that rock right there for cover. Crest a small hill there and make my tank go crazy, but I don't forget to hit him with one more hit. Hit the active protection there because there's a straw and a tow missile. Using this rock here for cover, it allows me ample time to go ahead and repair. Using small things to your advantage like this is what's going to give you the edge on the battlefield. Now, last thing we're going to talk about is assaulting a base with a tank. Whenever you start to assault the base, first thing you want to do is eliminate all the threats on the outside of the base. The first thing I notice is that mobile artillery leaving, so I deal with them quickly. Several rockets are flying my way, so I'm trying to figure out where they're coming from. I see one coming from there. This guy's actually pretty tricky to kill with his head glitching glory. But I do manage to get around to getting him. See, there's multiple rockets heading my direction from the inside of the F, but that's okay. Decide to take him out, use this rock for cover, so I can repair just like in the last clip. I'm up high enough so that I can come around while being able to resist a couple of rockets. Knock that guy into mobility and kill him very quickly.
Objective Bravo has been neutralized.
Coming around to the capture zone, it's about time that we get our hands on finishing this base. Thanks to the other tank there, he's actually been able to knock some of the infantry out, but I finish off the last guy there with my tank shell. With the combined effort of our team, I'm able to completely capture the base and eliminate multiple rocket users.
Objective Foxtrot.
I want to thank you for clicking on the video, and if you have any questions at all, don't be afraid to leave them in the comments section of the video. Thanks again, and please subscribe for more content.